So first I want to introduce Ebony, and Ebony is a citizen of the Suquamish tribal nation residing in the Pacific Northwest on the Port Madison Indian Reservation. She is very accomplished. She has a BA in tribal governance and business management from Northwest Indian College that she earned in 2019. And in the spring of 2021, she'll be receiving her Master's of Arts in Indigenous Education from Arizona State University, which we're both from. So that was pretty cool. We're both Sun Devils. Yay. And congratulations for coming up on your graduation. We can all give her a round of applause for that. Yeah, great job. Yes. So yeah, from this educational journey of hers, she's very passionate about the youth, being a strong role model for them and encouraging and pushing, people to be their best selves. And I really admire that in her work, and, striving to find ways to hold on to culture, land, and traditions, and to grow intellectually. I think that's beautiful. This is quoted from her. So she said, "I will never waver in my commitment to initiating positive change in Indian country." So thank you, Ebony. And I'd like you to meet Oscar Romero. I just recently got to meet him as well through partnering for this, and I am so excited, look forward to collaborating even more in the future. Oscar is a first-generation immigrant from El Salvador. His parents came to the United States in 1994 to give him and his two siblings the opportunity for a better life. He says that he's very thankful for everything his parents taught him and his siblings regarding work ethic, integrity, and commitment. One thing they couldn't teach them is how to get ahead with their money and building a solid and sustainable foundation for the next generation. So I think that's what motivates him, and hearing from him about how he wants to just, make money more accessible to people, finding ways to really have people, access things that some people think only certain people can access. So I thought that was great. And in December 2014, he discovered his passion for teaching financial education when he started with Primerica. And it's his goal to open up more locations across the US with independent leaders who can pass on financial knowledge to help create freedom of time and money for each and every family, household, and community. So thank you very much, Oscar, for your work and for being here with us today. So now I will pass it on to our speakers who can, if you want, you can tell us about Primerica, and then feel free to go into your presentation.
All right, awesome. So that's a huge pleasure being here today and in front of you guys, right? And honestly, like when it comes down to this information we're here to share with you guys, just keep in mind, this isn't something that you're gonna learn off of one time. It's something that we may need a couple revisits. We may need to speak with individuals one-on-one. Maybe some people don't feel comfortable asking group questions, and that's okay. I feel that same exact way too. When I was in school, it was just more of like, whenever everybody left, I would talk to the teacher directly. Hey, these are the questions I had, but I don't want to ask in the group, right? So that if you're one of those types of people, I can relate with that. But okay, also I'd have access to present on the screen. I do? Okay, great. So
Yeah, you should.
Okay, the bottom part where it says present now. Okay. Your entire, okay. Okay, cool. So I think you guys should be able to, let me know when you guys can see my screen, by the way. Can you guys see it now? You guys can see it? Oh, wait.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, it says stop. Okay, so you guys can see this right here?
Thumbs up?
Yes, I can see
Okay,
it.
thank you. All right, sorry
And
about
I
that.
also see the screen.
All right, awesome. Okay, great. So yeah, again, just appreciate everybody getting on here today, and we'll cover this information in a couple of minutes right now. But just ideally, when it comes down to this information that we do provide for people, I mean, when it comes down to Primerica itself, our whole intention is to be able to provide this information to individuals so that they can know it's accessible to them. Personally, when I got started with the company. It was more of like I knew a select few of people already had access to this type of information. I just didn't know it was possible for me and my family. So when I got introduced to the idea of Primerica, I fell in love with the idea of being able to explain this information out to others, being able to not just learn it for myself, but also teach other people too. And just the whole concept behind creating generational wealth, that's something that really caught my attention. So if you've had conversations with people about this before, that's awesome. And honestly, I'm just excited to be able to spread some more of this information to you guys. So ideally, when it comes down to the breakdown of everything, we're definitely going to cover some of these key things here today, right? So when it comes down to, uh, have you heard of financial planning before, right? That's something that people really do think today is very important. Yes or no? 100%. So when it comes down to ever accomplishing your financial goals, right? I'm sure that's probably things that people would think about all the time, being able to accomplish these financial goals. Or what about what the goal should be to begin with? What is generational wealth? That's one of the very common questions we do get nowadays, right? So the first thing that we're going to go ahead and cover right now, and let me see, okay. So when it comes down to actually breaking down financial planning, right? It's not more of like, do people plan to fail? No, they don't. What they do is that they fail to plan. And when it comes down to making it possible for people to be able to come in and actually get this information, honestly, this booklet, this PDF file right here, well, if it's a 32 pager, and honestly, I was very thankful the majority of the actual book is more pictures because when they told me is more pictures than actual words, I got really excited about that, right? So yeah, and Ebony's holding it there, Denise is
Hey,
holding it there
Oscar.
right now.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'll monitor the chat. So would you be able to make your
Bigger?
image larger for people? Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that would be great.
The only issue is that now I'm off camera, so I don't even see what I look like. Hopefully, I don't look funny.
Oh, no, you look
Got
great.
it.
Good,
Yeah.
We won't let you go down like that.
All right.
Don't worry.
So, okay, cool. So okay, I'm just gonna be quiet now because I think Ebony, I think you want to share a couple things, right, on this part.
Yeah. So actually, if we go to the next slide, and all of these items that we're going to cover are in the book. That Shelly was so great, and she uploaded the PDF. And if you actually want, if you're not a Kindle person and you want a hard copy of the book, please email me. I do have extra copies. It's nice to have like something to hold on to when you read. So one of the pages in the book, and I'll reference the pages just so you know where to look. But this one is page 4. So when you think about how money works, the first step is take control. So things like paying yourself first. You make a certain amount of money, whether it's a paycheck or maybe a scholarship or a stimulus. Before you spend that money on bills, we recommend that you pay yourself first. Figure out how to add paying yourself into your budget. So if you have a budget, if you don't have a budget, maybe you should start with that step too. So what I do in my budget is I list like my housing expenses and my car expenses and my utilities. And then one of the items on my budget includes paying myself first. So whether it's into my savings account or my retirement account, it's definitely a bill that I have listed for my monthly expenses. And then adjusting your priorities. So that's a great recommendation for depending on how much you make. Let's say you make $10. The example says if you make 10 and you only spend 9, you can find happiness. If you make 10 and you're spending 11, then you're probably kind of miserable. You're kind of frustrated. And then changing your thinking. A good bullet point for that one is if you don't believe that you deserve to be financially secure, then you'll never be financially secure. So it's all about mindset. So putting yourself in the right mindset and understanding kind of what your priorities are when you're taking control of your finances is definitely an important step for taking control. And then we can go to the next slide real quick. And the next slide is we're going straight in order for this one. This one is on page 5. And it talks about what you can and what you can't control. There's some great examples in the book. I'll cover a couple of them real quick. Things you can control. You can save for retirement. You don't want to work till you're super old and you're elderly. You want to enjoy your golden years. You want to have worked towards, you know, retirement and enjoying time with maybe extended family or grandkids or something like that. So other things you can control is other sources of income. You know, some people look up ways to supplement their income. Maybe you have a full-time job and you really want to start building a savings account and a retirement account, and you're like, yo, I'm really stretched thin. How am I going to contribute toward that? Look for part-time work opportunities. Look for additional resources. Find other ways to have multiple streams of income. So those are always things that you can control. A couple of things that you can't control are things like the future of Social Security, for instance. There's a year, Oscar, if you could share. I know you remember really well what year Social Security is supposed to be depleted.
Yeah, it's 2037.
2037. So that's probably most of us here. That Social Security will be gone before a few of us retire. So we can't really rely on that, which is kind of scary. But you can control what you do for that part of the retirement plan. You can't control Social Security. And your employer, you can't control your employer. Especially with the pandemic recently, you know, companies have closed down. Some companies have reduced their staff. There's many different things that happen with employment. You know, sometimes you don't get an increase every year, an annual increase. When your expenses are going up, you may not be getting an increase in your salary. So these are things that you can't control. So you can set goals and you can have a plan. You can avoid the credit trap. Same thing goes for student loans. I think about students and being an academic journey individual myself. I've gone through a lot of college now. It's great. I like to walk away with zero debt. I have some. There were some unavoidable situations, but I tried to limit how much student loans I took in. So avoiding the credit trap is the same as avoiding student loans. Try to apply for more scholarships. That's a great recommendation. I tried to apply for as many scholarships as I could handle. Scholarships are like homework, but you know, it's definitely better than signing up for student loans or using credit cards and things like that to pay. So we can go to the next slide. Great, and then we'll talk about you know, how money works, paying yourself first. We kind of talked about that. The problem is at the end of the month, you ran out of money. You don't have a way to pay yourself first. But the solution is paying yourself before you pay everyone else. So that's a great way to make sure you take care of yourself individually. You know, it's kind of like self-care, making sure you put yourself as a priority. Great. And this one talks about on page 7. It talks about the 3 accounts you need. So there's 3 different types of accounts that are recommended to be financially secure, to be in a good, safe place when it comes to your finances. You won't wake up tomorrow and have 3 accounts that you can rely on. But if you plan for them and you save accordingly, you can have these 3 different accounts that keep you in a good, safe place. So the first one is an emergency fund. And that's for things that could go wrong with maybe your car, or if you have something go wrong at home and you have a last minute expense. There's a couple of different reasons why you need an emergency fund. So what you can do is you can start contributing towards that emergency fund little by little until it gets to a point where it's recommended that you have 3 to 6 months worth of savings, worth of monthly expenses in your emergency fund. It sounds like a lot of money, but if you work on it little by little, you can eventually have this really great emergency fund in place for emergencies. And then a short-term savings. So let's say you're thinking about going to Orlando next year when the pandemic is over. How do you plan for that? You set up a short-term savings account. So you figure out how much it's going to cost, your flights, your hotels, all the adventures you're going to go on. You figure out what that dollar amount is, and you divide it by 12. If you're going next year in April, you have 5 months to plan for it, and you figure out how much each month you want to put into that short-term savings account. Some other short-term savings are like new computers and things like that. Maybe you need for school. Maybe you want to plan for Christmas. If you really want to go big and go large and spend a little bit of money this Christmas, you have time to plan for that. You can put money in your short-term savings. These are things that you can reward yourself with. Not everything about finance has to feel like punishment. You should enjoy your money too. And then long-term savings and investments. And this is where we talk about, mutual funds, and that's how you plan for your retirement and maybe even your down payment if you decide to be a homeowner one day. So those are the 3 different accounts that we recommend that you start to plan for and start to think about and get them set up and, have it on your mind as far as your planning goes for budgeting. So yeah, I touched on this a little bit. So, you want to retire in your golden years. There's the Walmart greeters, and they're always great. We love to see them, but they're usually kind of elderly people that maybe they don't want to be home. Maybe that's a choice that they made, but maybe they're looking to supplement their income and their retirement savings wasn't quite where it needed to be in order for them to be fully in retirement. So, if you don't have a plan, if you're not planning for your future, then you're not properly planning for that, and you're not sure exactly how to get to where you want to be. So having a plan in place definitely helps you figure out where you're going to be and when you're going to be in retirement and how that's going to look for you. So yeah, Oscar and I are here. We help people plan for their financial future. We invite you, of course, you individually, to be a part of the solution. Licensed representatives that can share information about finances and financial planning and financial security and all of these different topics. The need for this in the indigenous communities is huge. Most of the people I meet, they don't have a plan. They haven't heard of these different type of savings accounts. There's information that they're not receiving. So we love to be out here and share information, and we'd love to invite you to be the same. You join us in helping educate others about different financial planning options.